Stoa is a digital campfire where we cohere in dialogue about what matters most at the knife's edge of what's happening now.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Stoa. I am Peter Lindberg, the steward of the Stoa, and the Stoa is a place for us to cohere and dialogue about what matters most at the knife's edge of this very moment. And so for some of the new faces here at the Stoa, I don't know how to describe this space, but some people call it a digital campfire. We have a wisdom gym component where we get to practice all these different muscles that help us become more wise human beings together. And all these interesting people are coming on my radar. I'm reaching out to some are reaching out to me. And I forget how exactly Devaraj Sandberg came on my radar, but he's pretty awesome. He's a therapist, workshop leader, and writer, and does something called Bioenergetics. And if you're not familiar with that, Devaraj is going to give us a kind of a one-on-one preview on it and how today is going to work. This is a 75-minute session, so sorry if that wasn't indicated. But the first 15 minutes are going to be an introduction to bioenergetics. Then the next 30 minutes is going to be a guided bioenergetics session. So make sure you wear like loose clothing, have some room. And then the last 30 minutes will be a Q&A. And how that's going to work, you have any questions throughout maybe the 15-minute introduction portion or any time throughout the experience today, put it in the chat. I'll call on you, unmute yourself. This will go on YouTube. So if you don't want to be on YouTube, just indicate that and I'll read it on your behalf. Anything else? I think that's everything. That being said, good morning, my friend. How are you doing today? You're on mute. Let me unmute you.
Unmute. Okay,
yeah.
I got it. Cool. Thank you, Peter. Thank you for inviting me on your platform. And thank you for making such an awesome platform as well. I read your emails in the morning and, I like this. Got balls, man. It's good. It's just good. And yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about bioenergetics basically, and a little bit about therapy, and particularly working with the body in therapy, because it's kind of like how I see it is like, it's like when you're a little kid, there's like three things that that are yours, and that continues, as we see it, like you got thoughts, we can think about things and stuff like that and create ideas and and, then there's like feelings, emotions, sadness, joy, anger. And then there's like the sense of the body, this kind of, what for a lot of people is just this kind of slightly dull, kind of thudding feeling or something in the background a little bit, and when we look at therapy, and different ways to kind of deepen our experience or develop or let go of the past or whatever, when there's a kind of calling inside, either through something really bad happening in our lives and we feel, man, I need to sort this shit out, or just through, you think, wow, there must be more to life than just working in this bloody job or whatever. And people seek development in various ways. And mostly what we go to is stuff working with thoughts initially, maybe, a lot of modern therapy, from even Sigmund Freud onwards, the 1890s, or through to CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, this kind of thing. We're working with the thinking mind, and then maybe, you get into feelings as well. Certainly some psychotherapists would, they'll talk and they want to create a connection with you and then, bring you into deeper feelings, so emotions start to come. Maybe they track what's going on in your life now. You kind of track it back to your relationship with your dad or your mom or stuff like this. And this is all great. But what I kind of, and I did a bit of this, particularly the feeling stuff. I did a lot of work with feelings and screaming and shouting in group rooms all day and all night, sometimes in different Osho places. But what I really came back to at the end was just this kind of feeling of the body, which kind of we all overlook because it's kind of dull, or it seems kind of dull or boring. I think, when you're like young, You know, thoughts are exciting, experience is exciting, you know, going out into the world and feeling stuff is really exciting. The feeling of the body is not really such an exciting thing as I see it personally. But the feeling of the body is like, also it's your ground in a sense. And what I've discovered personally and working with people the last decade or so is the more you can, as a general kind of rule, you know, the more that you can actually feel your body, the more whole you are, the more present you can be, the more grounded you can be, the more you can be in the kind of extremes of emotionality without completely getting hijacked and losing it into behaviors where later on you really regret stuff. And this practice of bioenergetics, which is a kind of body movement therapy, the concept is basically just to get the body more open. And by that, I mean, it's derived from originally in the West, the work of a guy called Wilhelm Reich. And he had this idea that when traumatic events happen, or when we're just conditioned a lot in childhood and not really allowed to just be ourselves in some way, that is all held in the body, in the muscle system, in the fascia, as holding patterns, you know, areas of unnatural tension in the body, or dead zones, you know, kind of like areas where the awareness has just dropped out. And so your personality is kind of represented in your body. It's there in your body. And whilst, like I say at the beginning, you know, normally when we want to change our personality or let go of the past, we go to our mind and, you know, we look for therapists and stuff, and we look for stuff to do with our mind, you know, and our thought patterns and our behavior from our mind. But you don't have to go to that place, or if you've been to that place and it's not really working for you somewhere, you can also just work at a bodily level. You can actually just work at a bodily level, because I mean, what I came across, you know, about a few years into my therapeutic journey, about 20 years ago, my realization was I'm just blocked. I'm just blocked as shit, basically. I'm just completely blocked. And, you know, actually all I need to do is not think about who to be anymore, or how to do this, or how to get this girlfriend, or whatever. You know, like, who do I have to please? Who do I have to be? I just need to take out the blocks. I just need to take out the blocks. And what remains will be me. You know, will be more authentic version of me. And, you know, and this is what bioenergetics really, to me, is about. It's got 3 elements to it. You put your body in a posture. Sometimes it's a slight movement posture or pulsing. And then you try and maintain the posture. And at the same time, you breathe through the mouth quite deep, because we're trying to bring energy or oxygen, you know, into the body, into the main trunk core of the body, build up a bit of a charge of energy inside. You breathe quite deep, and you try to keep your attention on your body, just feeling your body. And then with different postures and practicing this, what tends to happen over time is that sometimes you go through like quite a deep emotional process, but often you just feel more open. It's like this kind of holding patterns come a bit to the surface, and sometimes people shake or whatever, and then it starts to diffuse and move. And after doing bioenergetics, it's quite common, you know, what you want, you feel more grounded, you know, like you're more present on the earth, but at the same time, you're more open as well. It's like, it's okay to be open with someone. You know, I realized for the first time in my life, I didn't need to be in total control of every situation, you know, which was my default, unconscious default, like as a kid growing up from my childhood, you know, and so this openness was really, really like miraculous to me. And with the groundedness as well, there's a sense that, okay, I can be open, but if something bad starts happening, I can protect my boundaries. I can put boundaries up, you know, energetically. And so a big part of bioenergetics is really you're in postures, you're opening up the body, and you're allowing stuff to move without needing to really think about it so much. The only kind of job that your mind has is just to try and maintain the posture on the edge of your comfort zone. If it's really, really painful, then, you know, you need to stop or slacken off in some way if it's physical pain. To try and remember to keep breathing, because often people they do a posture and they focus on the posture, but they shut their breathing right down. They kind of close at the throat. And then to try and remember just to keep your awareness on your body, you know, and if you can, the more that you can keep those three going, stuff opens up. Another way that bioenergetics works, particularly how I use it, is opening kind of centers in the body. Like most people are on a kind of deep psychological level blocked at the throat. You know, their throat, they don't feel like it's okay to just be me, you know. It's like been trained out of us as a little kid. I'm not saying everybody, but you know, it's quite common in my experience. And also people are kind of blocked, they can't feel their belly, you know. So what happens when we can't feel the kind of natural somatic centers of the body is that the mind kind of takes over. By that I mean like the prefrontal cortex up here, you know, it just says, well, I'm going to take over this job, you know, I'll take over keeping you upright, and I'll take over protecting your boundaries, you know, but it invariably, when it's trying to do this, you know, it just makes the body tense, basically. So yeah, it kind of does it, but it creates a lot of tension in doing it, you know. So being able to feel your spine, you realize like, oh, I'm okay. You know, I can be upright on the earth. I don't have to just wobble all over the place and please people or fit in or whatever. You know, when you can feel your belly, you know, it's like, okay, I have energy, I have power, I have a sort of animal power center, you know, and I can protect my boundaries if I need to. I can really, you know, be male, aggressive if I need to, you know. So it's like we're opening up energy centers and we're freeing up areas that are held basically in the body, you know. And that's, I guess, it's kind of way of explaining bioenergetics. I just give, you know, because it's kind of common in the UK at the moment that there's a lot of people talking about embodiment, you know, and it's okay. A friend of mine wrote a book about embodiment recently and runs this conference. And there's another guy, I won't mention his name, who's always banging on about embodiment, but there's a kind of irony for me in that they're not necessarily really working their body very much. You know, they're just writing lots of stuff about embodiment, and maybe irony is not quite the right word, but what we're trying to do in bioenergetics is bring the awareness out of this thinking mind for a while and let it kind of start to reoccupy the body, you know, instead of having to, I see in the world, you know, a lot of people want change and they're fighting against stuff out in the world. A few years ago, there was this Occupy movement, you know, where people are super pissed off about this thing in London, so they're occupying this area. I think it was in Wall Street as well or something. But what struck me was like, if you're occupying your body, you know, you don't necessarily need to see the issues in the outside, or it can be a kind of default mode of the brain to perceive the issue on the outside when actually it's more internal. And that's not to say that you can't ever protest or it's not authentic to protest, but it's kind of like a default mode of the brain, particularly when you're young, like in your 20s, that it's like a Teflon coating the ego. So internal stuff tends to be disowned, and we just see it in the outside world, you know, like men are wrong, you know, and, you know, authority is wrong, you know. It's just like, because we had a bad experience of authority as a kid, you know, when that repressed feeling starts to vibrate a bit, it's like suddenly the world is wrong, you know, the world is wrong, and I really need to I'm weak, I need to get together with like-minded people and oppose it, you know. It's like, it's how the brain functions. And the problem is that if maybe the issue is internal, then you're not really doing yourself any favors, and you could be empowering yourself by feeling more. I did this a lot when I was young, you know. I was a total conspiracy theorist, and I was massively resentful of authority. I was a punk, I was a squatter, I lived on the street, you know, I was a druggie, and I just basically assumed that all authority was wrong and needed to be opposed on an ongoing basis, you know, because that was kind of how I processed my relationship with my adoptive father. But, you know, what happened at a certain point for me in my 30s was this Teflon coating of my ego kind of faded away a bit, and I started to feel shit, and I started to realize, whoa, what if it's me? What if it's me? You know, all these things I've been fighting in the world. What if it's just me and my childhood, you know? So that's when I kind of got involved in therapy. Anyway, I sense this is a little bit rambling. I don't know if I've quite introduced enough, but I was thinking maybe we just do some body work basically, and all you'll need is some relatively loose clothing. I'm not going to do any of the kind of noisy stuff because you might be in an environment where you can't make a ton of noise, but we're going to just work our body a bit, and I think I can just talk our way through it. My tripod's been a bit of a mess, and I need to just kind of, I don't know how to get it so that I can see myself a bit bigger, maybe like this, maybe not. Anyway, I'm going to turn it around a little bit. Can you guys see me okay? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay. And you can hear me okay at this kind of volume level?
Yeah, it's not as great, but we can still hear you.
Okay. Okay, cool. What we're going to do, so stand up basically. Stand up, because you're not just going to be watching me. And make sure you've just got like a little space around you, like a few square meters. And then for a moment, just take your feet about shoulder width apart and bend your knees a little bit so you're not locked through the knees. And just start to maybe close your eyes and just feel your body. Just breathing however you want to breathe, and just feeling this body. For a long time, I just saw this body as a kind of vehicle, like a car, that my mind could drive around in. And I still do at times, but actually it's an amazing, amazing resource. And then just have a few steps around your space, trying to just remain feeling your body. And what I'm going to do actually is put on a ding track, just to work with, about 1.25 minutes long. And we're just going to go through some exercises, and when there's a ding, we'll change the exercise. You just keep breathing and feeling your body. I'll sort this ding track out. So the first exercise we're going to do is a kind of reverse pulsing gesture. You gently interlink your fingers behind your back, and you kind of move upwards like this. Hopefully you can see this okay. Not so you're getting just like a pulsing movement. You can tap your tailbone. There's our first ding. You can walk around with this if you like, but just gently pulsing upwards. And now we're going to start to breathe through the mouth while we're doing this, fairly deep. And really have the intention just to stay in the body, feeling what's going on. Breathing in and out through the mouth. Just keeping this pulsing going, being aware of any ache. Breathing through the mouth. And with the ding, just let it go. Give your arms a little flick. We're going to come into another pulsing movement. Put your palms together in prayer position, but pointing backwards with your upper arms vertical. And we're just going to pulse like this. Pointing back, pointing up. And again, if you wish, you can walk around a little or just stay with your knees a little bent, standing. pointing back, pointing up. And again, breathing through the mouth and feeling your body. Breathing out nice and deep. And if you're standing, checking that your knees are a little bent, that you're not locked through the knees. And then letting that go with the ding. And now we are going to come to standing with your feet about shoulder width apart or a little more. Drop your ass slightly so that your knees are a bit bent, backbone, your back is upright. And we're going to pull the shoulders forwards. So you don't need to use your arms as levers, they just kind of follow, but you're pulling your shoulders forwards like you're trying to get your shoulders to touch in the middle of your chest, which you almost certainly won't be able to do, but you're doing that, and you're breathing through the mouth. Make sure you breathe out, and you just feel your body, and you maintain the stretch. Pulling the shoulders together. So the stretch is in the shoulders. The arms are kind of just following along. Nice big breaths in and out through the mouth, not holding your breath. And then we're going to do a counter stretch, which is stretching your shoulders back. Imagine you've got like a walnut between your shoulder blades and you're trying to crack it. Keep your knees a little bent. Really squeeze back and breathe. Yeah, breathe out. Squeeze those shoulders together and breathe. If any of this really gets physically painful and you don't feel like it's good for you, then just lay off. Don't do it so much. But otherwise, try to breathe through any discomfort. Breathe out. And let it go with the ding. Jiggle your arms a little if you want to. And staying in this body position, pull the shoulders up towards your ears. So the movement is in the shoulders, your arms just kind of follow. Pulling the shoulders up towards the ears, kind of like you're auditioning for Frankenstein or something, or one of those assistants of Frankenstein that always opens the door and stuff. Pulling the shoulders up towards your ears, like you're trying to get your shoulders to touch your ears. And breathe, big breaths, breathe. Maintain the stretch. Breathe through the mouth and just feel what's going on in your body. Just feeling it. Breathe out. And let it go. And the next one is a little different. We're going to keep the lower body in this position and we're going to do a fake smile. So, and really make it physical. So it's literally allowing the corners of your mouth to come up towards your eyes, compressing your cheek muscles. Like you've got a job in an American hotel chain on the front desk and you just have to smile all day. You're going to get the sack. Keep your mouth a little open so you can breathe through the mouth. Really work those muscles. Corners of your mouth up towards the eyes. You should feel it in the cheek muscles. Stay with it. Keep it up. And let it go. Move your face around if you want to. Shake your arms a little bit. And the next one's also with the mouth. This time we're going to open the mouth wide. Wide as you can. Like a teenager trying to eat a triple burger in one. Mouth wide open, really stretch that jaw. Try to keep it fully wide until the ding. Breathe through the mouth and feel your body. And let it go. And now bring your feet to shoulder width or maybe a little bit closer together. We're going to go into a bow position. Bring your arms right up, palms facing forwards. And then squeeze your arms back so you feel a compression in your shoulder blades. And at the same time, push your pelvis a little forwards. You're kind of trying to make your body shape like an archer's bow. But with your head, keep it upright. And again, breathe through the mouth and feel your body. Oh, stretching into this bow shape, but keeping your gaze level, head upright. Stretch those arms back behind the ears. Press that pelvis a little forwards. Oh. Big breaths out through the mouth. And let your body straighten, bring your arms down. And we're going to do a counter stretch called the arch posture. Feet closer together, like 6 to 8 inches, 15 centimeters. Hang forwards. When you're hanging forwards, don't go down so low that your fingers reach the floor, but just off the floor. Jiggle your arms and your head a little bit to make sure you're not locking in the neck or the shoulders. Imagine your ass muscles are being pulled upwards, straightening your legs, while keeping a little flex in the knees. And just breathe through the mouth and feel your body. Big breaths. And then slowly uncurl your body, coming back up. Your head comes up last. And that was a rep, and we're going to do another rep. Move the camera a little bit. So we're going to start straight off with this. Arms behind your back and pulsing like this. Again, with this rep, now you're getting used to it. Really breathe, big breaths, and feel your body. You don't need to make any kind of narrative about how it feels. You just, that act of just really feeling your body is giving love to this body that we often don't really cherish. I didn't cherish it for a long time. Knees a little bit bent. Pulse and breathe. Pulse and breathe. Breathe through it. And now arms up, and we're going to do this reverse prayer pulsing gesture. Again, keep those knees a little bent and really breathe through the mouth. Don't hold at the throat to survive. Just breathe deep. Pointing back, pointing up. Stay with it and breathe your way through. Aim to breathe your way through discomfort, and if it really becomes physically painful, then stop. And once again, let it go and stand with your feet at least shoulder width apart. Bend those knees, shoulders front. Pulling the shoulders together, big breaths through the mouth. Maintain the stretch, breathe through the mouth, feel what's going on. Yeah, pull those shoulders. See if you can get them another millimeter closer and breathe through. Big breaths, so your breath is audible. And let it go. Shake your arms a second, and then shoulders back. Right, you got that walnut between your shoulder blades and you're trying to crack it. Keep those knees a bit bent. Keep your ass down a little bit. Breathe through the mouth. Stretch and breathe. See if you can get those shoulder blades another millimeter closer. Check it out. Yeah, squeeze a little more and keep that breathing audible. And let it go with the ding. Shoulders up towards the ears. Right up, pull those shoulders up and breathe. Big breaths. It's the action of stretching and breathing at the same time and feeling what's going on that allows holding patterns to start to release. Keep those out breaths so you can hear them. Keep those knees a little bent. Don't look through the knees. Yeah, breathe out. Maintain the stretch and breathe. And let it go, have a little shake. And then we're coming into these mouth stretches. So really go for it. Fake smile, big fake smile. In England, we would say the Californian fake smile. I don't know if you're allowed to say that in America. Feeling the squeeze in your cheek muscles. Mouth a little open so you can breathe through the mouth. Keep that smile going, like you're just loving it. Feel what's going on in your body as you smile. It's a powerful Taoist and bioenergetic exercise. And let it go. Do what you need for a moment, and then we're going to do jaw stretch. Mouth wide open, wide as you can. Big, wide mouth. Like you're a 15-year-old and you want to get that triple burger in one bite. Triple veggie burger if you're a veggie. Check that stretch a little bit wider. Can you get it a little bit wider? Mouth wide open. I'm going to let it go. And we're going to come round into our bow posture. So our arms are up, palms facing forwards, and then stretch the arms back. And then press your pelvis forwards, keeping a little flex in the knees. And keeping your gaze level, your head upright. Stretch, breathe, feel. Oh. And then straighten the body, relax the arms. Bring your feet closer together and hang forwards. Take it slow if it feels a bit much on your lower back. Hanging forwards, breathing through the mouth. And coming slowly back up, feeling your body as you come. Good news, I think we've got time for a third rep. Good news for the body, bad news for the mind maybe. But we're going to start with this pulsing movement again, breathing and feeling. So take your fingers behind your back and just breathe your way through. It's natural to have a bit of mental resistance. But try to just breathe your way through. I'm going to make this rep a little bit shorter. Keep pulsing, keep breathing through the mouth nice and deep. You can do it. We're going to be on shoulder dings for this one. Big breaths out. Particularly if you're struggling a little bit, really breathe out. Whew. And then let it go and bring your arms up into this reverse prayer, pulsing movement. Pointing back, pointing up. Keeping your upper arm relatively vertical and static. Palms together, pointing back, pointing up, breathe and feel. Whew. Really breathe in some air, big breaths, physical, and breathe it out. And let it go. Take that nice grounded stance and bring your shoulders to the front and breathe. And really give them a little squeeze. Bringing those shoulders closer. Big breaths. Make your breathing really audible. And let it go and bring the shoulders back. Keeping that ass down a little bit. Yeah, squeezing back and breathe, big breaths. Remember, if it's really going into physical pain, you need to lay off. Otherwise, try to breathe through the discomfort. Keep that squeeze going like you're trying to break that walnut between your shoulder blades. And breathe your way through. You can do it. Relax for a moment and then shoulders up, right up high, right up towards those ears. The stretches in the shoulders, so your arms are just kind of hanging, following along however they are. Pull those shoulders right up and breathe. Big breaths. Try not to lock up the throat. Try not to go into survival mode. Just try to breathe your way through. And breathe out, let it go. Last few postures, fake smile. Pull the corners of those mouth up high, high as you can. Squeeze into those cheeks. And breathe and feel. Yeah, a little bit. See if you can get it a little bit higher. And breathe. And let it go. Move your face for a moment if you need to. And then jaw stretch. Big wide mouth, wide as you can. Big mouth. And let it go. Back round into your bow posture for the last time. Arms right up, palms facing forward. Stretch the arms up and then stretch them back behind the ears. Compressing the shoulder blades. Press your pelvis forwards. Keep your knees a little bent. Breathe through the mouth and feel your body. And then relaxing your body a second, bring your feet closer together and hang forwards into the arch posture. And then coming up, we're just going to do something to integrate a little. So please take your feet to shoulder width apart again and bend your knees. And then feel into your legs and see if there's like a slight trembling happening. And if there isn't, just gently shake your body. You can close your eyes if you wish or keep them open. But we're just going to let the body shake a little for a couple of dings. Keep breathing and feeling into your legs. Have your palms facing a little towards the front. Opens the body. And if you like, you can lean very slightly backwards and see if a shaking comes. It's up to you. Spontaneously. Stay with it. And then for 2 more dings, if you like to just sit down somewhere and close your eyes and just breathe normally and feel your body. You can sit on the floor, on a cushion, on a chair, whatever. But just take 2 minutes just to breathe and feel your body sitting. Eyes closed, please. Just keeping your attention on your body, breathing normally. And just staying like this for 1 more ding, please. So now it's time just to open your eyes if you want and come back to the room. Have a little stretch. And it's like a question time, I think.
Very cool. I feel my body vibrating internally. So if you have any questions, start throwing them in the chats. We have about 15 minutes of Q&A. One thing that caught my attention when you were talking and doing that exercise is mentioning the internal like mental resistance, like when we were going to the third round. And I'm like, oh, like I had that, like, oh, do I have to do this? And I did these in Toronto, these bioenergetic classes, and some of the poses that they put you in, man, is really painful. So do you have any kind of heuristics or techniques in order to deal with the mental tension and the bodily tension that occurs during these?
I mean, you know, there's lots of different bioenergetics teachers and different schools and whatever. And if it goes into physical pain, I usually tell people to stop, basically, you know, or just lay off, you know. But if it's just discomfort, then try to breathe your way through. And assuming it is just discomfort and basic mental resistance, like, oh, I've just done 2 reps of this, I don't want to do another rep, it's enough now. You know, that kind of mental resistance will come up in a lot of areas of your life usually, often when you're stepping up or trying to do more of something. And so it is actually a really useful practice in a broader perspective, just to say, okay, let's just I've got my resistance, I'm going to do it anyway and just breathe my way through. Because it's kind of like a mental holding pattern that's moving.
All right. So
Does
we'll
that
get to,
help? I'm not sure if it quite answers.
yeah, that did help. So we'll go to Lily's question in a moment, but Anjan, I think that would be a good question to kickstart off the Q&A portion.
Hey there, Raj. I feel like
Hi.
somebody rubbed A535 over my body. I have this like minty tingling over me. What the hell happened? How does this work?
Well, it's kind of a Reichian thing in a sense that, you know, when you start to charge your body with energy by breathing through the mouth in and out, you know, then you start to, what happens is it kind of creates a little bit of friction between the energy that's stuck in the body, you know, and this is kind of Reichian theory and stuff, and the fresh energy that you're charging up with. And stuff comes to the surface and you might feel tingling, you might feel heat, you might feel not so much, you might find parts of your body going numb even. You know, there's all sorts of things that can happen. I don't know if there's a really hard, proper scientific explanation for it. There might be. I don't really know. But it's basically a good sign, you know. Because the body is meant to be vibrantly alive, in my opinion. You know, it's the whole body should be behind what we're saying, what we're doing, what we're feeling. You know, the body has neural potential all around it, you know, but we're kind of, this little bit up here is kind of taken over control, you know, like a really bad 1980s style boss. And it's just demanding the rest of the body does what it wants. You know, it's what's happened in a lot of people's lives. So this tingling and vibrant aliveness and emotional kind of fluidity is a good thing, if you ask me. I hope that helps.
Do you have a comment on what the shaking was? Because I felt that a lot on the bow one. It was very visceral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the body does shake. I mean, I don't have a neurological kind of explanation for it or something like that, but one of the things you're doing, particularly in the bow posture, is you're starting to, you see, as you charge your body with energy and maintain the stretch, the holding patterns, it's like you've got a dishcloth, you know, a dishcloth that you find under the sink, you know, and it's gone all stiff and hard, you know, and by putting liquid on it, like awareness in a kind of metaphorical sense, and squeezing it around, it starts to become pliant again. So the holding in it starts to be released, basically physically, as heat, as vibrations, whatever. So you're kind of stretching muscles out of their normal zone, basically. It's like this, but you're taking something that's a bit held and rigid, stretching it more than you normally would, you know, and it starts to vibrate and release the holding, basically, especially when you're breathing through the mouth to charge the body with more energy as well.
All right. Lily, you had a question. Lily, are you still in this room? Maybe not. All right, let's go to Zach then. We'll circle back to Lily in a moment.
You want me to verbally ask? Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, my question is why these exercises? Why does end range of motion seem to be part of the recipe? And you kind of already touched on that.
What was the last bit? I missed a little bit of that sentence. Sorry, Zach.
Yeah, like I guess I'm wondering, yeah, like why these exercises and why do the exercises seem to all be kind of taking us to like end range of motion? Like, is there something about end range of motion that?
Yeah, I mean,
special.
Yeah, it's just one. It's a set of exercises. A lot of them are working around the shoulder area, you know. And one thing, you know, if you ever had a feeling of deep grief, you know, that it's like the heart on an energetic level opens here. You know, it's like something bursting open. And in similar manner, this energetic heart, you know, it closes between the shoulder blades, basically. So when you start to work the area between the shoulder blades quite a lot, often it does bring feelings a bit to the surface, you know, emotions that have kind of been held down a little bit start to just come up. But, you know, in bioenergetics, you know, there's all sorts of different postures and you're working all different parts of the body. I just did that sequence because I actually did it in a class a week ago, and I thought, I'll do that one.
My second question is, like, what would you recommend as like a dose if someone was to do this like as a regular practice? How might they know they're doing too much, and how might they know that it's like working?
Yeah, well, I would say, you know, you got start off slow, and you know, some people like to get really excited about something and charge into it, doing tons and then kind of drop it real quick. And that doesn't really work with this kind of practice. So it's good to do something like maybe even 10 minutes, if you can commit to 10 minutes, just to those last two postures, bow and arch, you know, maybe like on a 1 or 2 minute ding, and just see how that goes. And just do 10 minutes in the morning, if you can fit that in, and just see how it goes. Record how you feel afterwards, or how your day goes. You can always check out my channel on YouTube for more postures. I've also got a book and an online course and stuff like this, you know. But you can just start with like 10, 12 minutes. It's a good length of time to do it. It's not really, you know, what makes the difference is when someone can kind of get into it for a longer period, which usually means that they are getting some positive benefit, but then they can kind of stick with it at times when it's a little bit of a struggle and stuff like that.
All right. I'm going to read Lily's question. Where is it? Why breathing through the mouth? I can pay more attention while breathing through the nose. Is it about letting go of control? And I'll take on a comment from Mary as well. Mary said, curious about choice of open mouth breathing versus yogic mouth closed. And then maybe another comment from Mary. I'm usually a more quiet person, found self-releasing sounds during exercises. Curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, often people do yoga to calm down and get peaceful, you know, so breathing through the nose will usually support that. You know, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth is quite common in yoga. But with this technique, we're not, you know, you may well feel calm afterwards, but in the practice, you're not really trying to just calm yourself. You may find it soothing, but breathing through the mouth generally kind of creates more raw energy in your body, in the core of your body, you know, breathing quite deep. And this creates a charge which works to start to help the release happen. So although quite a few of the postures might look a little bit like yoga and may even be the same as yoga, the kind of mental attitude and what you're doing with the breath is a bit different. It's a bit different. So, you know, it's basically to charge your body with energy as opposed to trying to relax the body. You know, you actually, in order to create relaxation in this kind of way of, in this kind of approach, you're actually overstretching or stretching very strongly some of the muscle groups. And, you know, through doing that, they can release some of that holding that's sitting there that doesn't really get to move when they're just doing their usual range of motion. And then it starts to come out. And then when you do sit down later, you feel, wow, like now I'm really relaxed. So that's the kind of theory, basically.
I'll read this comment for you. You can use this as a testimonial, maybe. Damn, I was so skeptical while we were doing it. It seemed dumb, but damn, shit, I feel so relaxed and tingly right now. It seems like I just got a 2-hour massage. So you went over a skeptic.
Cool, thank you.
Sarah, you're up next.
Okay, have you heard of trauma releasing exercises? I felt an urge to shake even before you kind of invited that, and I found that the shaking was I preferred it. It was a lower frequency, like bigger movement, bigger muscles, than the kind of high that I often get in the theory.
Yeah, trauma releasing exercises came out about 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, this guy, David Bocelli. And I mean, he never says this, but as I understand it, it's like a small subset of kind of diverse bioenergetic exercises that he kind of trademarked it and copyrighted it and created a training for it, you know? So I think it's pretty cool. I mean, bioenergetics is pretty extensive and kind of sprawling and not really under control by any kind of governing body. A few have tried, but they have not really succeeded. So, you know, TRE is a much more kind of formal structure. You've got certain exercises and that kind of thing. But my experience of TREs is mostly based on what I would call bioenergetics. But, you know, I don't, you know, I'm not trying to make some kind of, you know, kind of combative point or, you know, that kind of thing. It's not, you know, TRE is great. Bioenergetics is generally, it can go in a lot of different directions.
Do you have a follow-up, Sarah?
Not really, thanks.
I'll just follow that up. So when I hear all this stuff, what I actually see, whether it's bioenergetics, whether it's TRE, whether it's Osho, whether it's shaking, that the whole purpose of all this stuff is to just move energy. So, and then the body has to find out what actually suits the body. It could be yoga. Yoga might not be strong enough. It might be screaming. So one way or another, we're simply making energy move. Is that the case? And we have to find out what actually suits us?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, with a lot of these kind of practices and different therapies in general, you know, it's kind of like when you first start off, it's like walking around a mountain and trying different paths, you know, and at some point you have to kind of choose a path and just keep going with it, you know. That's how I see it. I mean, a lot of the Osho kind of work, and Devaraj is an Osho name, you know, yeah, it was focusing on catharsis, on the body, on feeling the body, breathing, and some very kind of intense process work that was around in the 70s and 80s, which has mostly kind of disappeared now, but the stuff like the shaking is kind of remaining.
All right, let's go to Margaret. This will probably be our last question.
Hi, thank you, Devraj. I'm curious, oh man, sorry, I started talking and woke the baby. What you see as the unique offerings of bioenergetics versus other somatic breath practices. You touched a little bit upon mentioning yoga as a tool for relaxation, but I guess when I hear all this, it kind of sounds like rebuilding the wheel. So I'm curious as to what you see as the unique offerings of this path, as you put it, through the mountains.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, with bioenergetics, it's specifically focused on removing the kind of bodily effects of trauma or conditioning, basically. You know, there are some secondary focuses and slightly different things, but that's its kind of primary focus. And, you know, you may well get a similar effect doing yoga, particularly say Ashtanga or something like this, but it's not actually been created with that intention, you know, Ashtanga yoga. You know, it's about developing the asanas and developing your body to be a fit vessel for Hindu spiritual practice, traditionally, usually. But with bioenergetics, it's been specifically created to start to take out some of the blocks as they manifest or are accessible at a physical level. That's what it's specifically intended for. So, you know, there's hundreds of other techniques which may resemble it a bit, but they don't have that specific focus. And that's kind of useful in a secondary way, because then people are coming to it with the express intention that that is what they want to do. And when you have the intention, okay, I want to get, you know, I've got this trauma from my dad or my mom, or I'm this or that Reichian character type or whatever, you have the specific intention to move through that. And then having that level of intention also supports you, you know, as where, like, for example, when I started to do therapy, and I needed to do really heavy therapy, but I started going to like dance workshops because I thought maybe like 5 rhythms would get rid of it, you know, or whatever, you know, and maybe I'd meet some women as well or something, you know. It was like, I wasn't really addressing, you know, there's nothing wrong with dance workshops, they're great, but I was not really addressing, but I needed to do actually very deep therapeutic work to heal from what had happened when I was a kid, you know. So there is something about calling it a therapy and saying this is what it's specifically about, but it tends to pull in people who are ready at an ego level to really, okay, I really want to start to work on this, you know. They're not kind of being wishy-washy with their mind anymore, like, oh yeah, I could do a bit of that, do a bit of this, you know.
Interesting. I really appreciate the framing around intention and conscious intention, because I think that is, although available in other somatic-based tools, not necessarily, as you said, their primary purpose and creation. So that does help frame it in terms of this is a tool for this specific thing or domain. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. So we're going to close out here. I thought this was a really fun session and a great introduction to this modality. So thank you for that. Any closing thoughts you'd like to leave us and where we can find you and your other work?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on YouTube if you look for Devaraj Bioenergetics, Instagram too, and I have a website, bioenergetics.org.uk. And, you know, I got a book and all those kind of game A things, you know, and an online course and all that kind of stuff, you know, which is pretty cool. It's like the online course is quite intense. It's for people who really want to commit for 1 or 2 years or got that. But it's, you know, you learn an awful lot about bioenergetics and go on a big kind of online journey. Yeah, thank you for going for it, guys. The ones I could see looked like they were really getting into it. So that on the Zoom thing. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, Peter, for inviting me. It's much appreciated.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for coming, and then come back anytime. We'd love to have you here at the Stoa. And just to plug a couple of events, in about 45 minutes, just going to meet someone. About 45 minutes, we have Embodied Book Club, the collective presencing. You'll have to read the first 2 chapters. So if you haven't done that, maybe come the week after and you can read. It's a 6-week session. We're actually going to practice and read the book at the same time. This is with Ria Beck, and then Empathy Circle training with Edwin Rutch. This is like a gamification of Carl Rogers' active understanding with 4 people. Edwin, the inventor of this modality, is going to come in and train this. This is going to be at the Mimetic Mediator Campfire. This is for 4 weeks. And if you attend at least 3 sessions, then you are eligible to be a trainer and do some training with Edwin. So that should be fun. We have tons of events on the website. We have a wisdom gym. We have one-offs. So you can go there. We have a Patreon if you'd like to support. And Substack. You can follow my misses and daily musings. So that being said, Dev, thank you so much for coming. Everyone, thank you so much for coming to the Stoa.
Cool. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Peter.